Brown himself shared this on Instagram, quote, "I look forward to new beginnings. I want to be the best version of myself. On and off the field, I will do my best to be a great teammate. I appreciate the NFL giving me the opportunity to continue to work on myself and improve. I'm thankful and grateful for this opportunity to play a game I truly love, and I look forward to joining a new team soon. Thank you to my family and all those who have supported me. I will show the fans my appreciation for this second chance by having the best season of my career." So right there, he's saying the right things. Adam Schefter, what are you hearing about the possibility of teams being interested?
Listen, over the last year or so, there are 3 teams that have moved on from arguably one of the most talented players in the game. And you've got a situation here where Antonio Brown is now facing the 8-game suspension during the course of the season. So if there's a team that would like to add him, he would not come in until later on, midway through the year. Now, again, I don't think there's anybody knocking down that door right now. I know people have brought up the Seattle Seahawks. I have not sensed that they're interested at this point in time. I know we've heard Lamar Jackson talk about the Baltimore Ravens going after him. Haven't heard that to date yet either. So I don't know of any team right now that is in the Antonio Brown market knocking on his door for a player that's going to be serving an 8-game suspension. Saying that, the guy's an incredible talent. He's going to come at a cheap price. It's going to be an incentive-laden deal if he gets one. And at some point, I would imagine there might be somebody who's interested, who needs help at that position, particularly in the year of COVID, where a team could lose wide receivers. I would think some team would come calling eventually, but I haven't sensed to date that any team has.
Yeah, and at least there's some clarity on what it is. We didn't know what the suspension might be. Now at least teams know what they're dealing with relative to that. Lewis, it's a pretty simple question. If you had a team, would you sign Antonio Brown?
Right now, no. Look, I think, Mike Tomlin, ironically, one of his former bosses, so to speak, one of his former head coaches, I think he summed up this time period succinctly just recently where he said, "One fail, we all fail," meaning this is a season of trust. And Antonio Brown has violated the trust of not one, not two, but 3 different organizations. So right now, how can you trust him? How is the risk reward in your favor as a team if you were to bring him in on your roster? Well, obviously at this point in time, because you don't have his services for 8 games, but really at any point in time, I think this is really going to be a situation where you're stretched so thin to the point where obviously maybe COVID-19 really hits your wide receiver room to the point where you get the chance to bring in a Hall of Fame, and he is a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver, someone who probably should be a lock to go ahead and go in there when he's eligible to go in. Are you gonna really risk bringing someone in like that? I think the only chance that you do bring him in is because you don't have anybody left on your roster. And I hate to say that about Antonio Brown because I've heard all the stories about how hard of a worker he is firsthand. I've heard those stories about how this guy, when he's actually playing the game, is like a work of art. I mean, he really is poetry in motion as far as how he approaches the game. But it's just about trust. And I know that the NFL all the time proves to you that talent will override character time and time again. But it's been 3 times, man. I mean, he says the right things. He does the right things as far as working out. He has the right people vouch for him. And then wham, he hits you upside the head with with his behavior and some of his choices where you just go, again? So, I mean, it stinks to be in this kind of situation when you're talking about him. But I really think it's going to be a situation where a team is just desperate and they luck up and have a Hall of Fame wide receiver who still could probably catch 100 balls and 1,400 yards for you, sitting right there, available for you. And you're going to have to go, well, I guess we're just going to have to go ahead and roll the dice. And that you shouldn't have put yourself in that kind of position given the kind of credentials that he has. So we'll see how this all plays out.
Tim, you know what the risk is. You know what the reward is. If you're a quarterback, do you hope your team signs? Are you walking in the door of whoever it is you would tell this to and pounding on the desk and saying, bring that guy here?
Yeah, I don't think there are many guys doing that. There may be a few. Maybe it's Lamar Jackson or maybe it's Russell Wilson. I think the interesting thing here, Greeny, you said it gives you clarity. And I think that ends up being the key here. You do have some clarity in it. And both, Lou and Adam are right. Look, you might have a decimated wide receiver room at some point. The issue ends up being you don't know when you're going to have that decimated receiver room, and you can't act late on Antonio Brown because you have an 8-game delay once you sign him. So it would not surprise me if you have somebody that's like, you know what, let's sign Antonio Brown to a very team-friendly deal and tell him to stay away. And just stay away in the event that, week 15, we've got a decimated wide receiver room, and then we can bring him back. And if we don't, then we just cut him and let him go. So, I think as you're trying to kind of figure out how you manage risk, that's one of the ways you would manage risk. But look, it doesn't mean I would sign him. I'm on board with exactly where Lou is on it. But that would be how you plan it if you were thinking about Antonio Brown solving a problem for you down the road.
That's a creative way of looking at it. I will just repeat again to finish the conversation, the numbers Hembo put on the screen in case you didn't see it. In his last 16 games, and they've been spread out, he had 108 catches, 1,350 yards, and 16 touchdowns. That's why this is such a complicated decision. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.